there's all this stuff going on constantly with this stuff. So I just think about like, I just keep staying in front of people constantly. Thing with direct mail is it can get expensive quickly, right? So remember that you often have to send multiple mailers to get your message through, just because of mail saturation, and sometimes a piece just doesn't convert well or whatever the case is. So you have that going on. The other thing you can do is I like direct mail when it's used properly in a sequence. So it's a waterfall for me. I want to take the leads. So the whole idea in the cold marketing, right, and in the stuff up front, is that I'm not trying to get deals. I'm trying to take all of the potential properties that I could target out there and all the potential sellers, and I'm trying to scrape off in layers the ones that are thinking about, might think about, could want to, whatever thing that responds, scrape the layers off and throw them into my tighter marketing web, where I'm going to do more specific follow-ups with them. Okay. So the scrape that I do it in layers. The reason is I want to do it cheap to expensive, right? So I want to scrape everything I can as cheap as possible to get them into my next phase, because now I can spend more money and more time in the next phase, because it's a way higher conversion rate for the time and money spent. So I like using direct mail in some of those follow-up pieces, right? Let's say you generate something through text, they get over into your CRM, you talk to them, you don't, whatever. Let's say you can't get in touch with them. You calling them, but they respond to the initial stuff. Now I might drop a direct mail, weeks down the line or something, after I've exhausted all these other channels, because they're super cheap. So that's the way I like using direct mail, in combination with something like that. The other way I like doing it is just make sure when you do it, make it easy for them to respond, to take action, or whatever the case is, right? So as easy as possible. Calling somebody has a different burden than like, text this number, let me know your property address, like, I'm looking to buy ASAP, right? So like that's a way different thing than call this and talk to me about your property. So just consider that in some of the pieces, but I like to just like very tight use of direct mail. So that way that 50 to 60 cent cost, or really in my head, I'm more like, how can I design my processes so that the ones I do direct mail, I'll spend $1 or $1.50 on, because it makes sense, because I'm so cheap elsewhere that my blended costs come out the right way, right? So like that's the way it's pieced together in my head, because now I can make that direct mail, it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to go to a smaller list, and it's going to convert at a higher rate, right? So that's kind of the waterfall effect that happens in how I use the channels. Yeah, kind of like layering your marketing, correct? And then remember, that's cold stuff we're talking about. The whole idea of the cold, like we were saying, some of you guys were talking about these conversations and some of the cold stuff. The whole idea of the cold marketing is to just move them into the next tighter environment. So if there's 100,000 potential properties, if all day long you're trying to get to the 100,000 constantly, and like that's where you're trying to pull deals out of, you'll go crazy. Every day you need to be hitting a portion of the 100,000 so that you're extracting a certain percentage into now maybe, I think so, now to a tighter, and they aren't all going to be deals right now. They aren't all going to be deals. Some of them maybe 6 months, 8 months, 12. Like I've had people 3 years later that come back around again, right? But we've been in front of them for 3 years. And a lot of that's automated when you do that, because it's just running in the background for you. So just look at your marketing channels that way. Don't get frustrated with this upfront stuff. Like again, the purpose of the upfront stuff is to just move them, get them into a tighter funnel, a tighter system. If they're saying a number now, if you guys are in areas where it's kind of the opposite situation right now, right? So like when winter storms move through, that changes. If it's an investor who owns that property, like that changes their thinking, right? Just like Alec with you, they just put money into it for a new roof, like that changes their thinking and their motivation to sell the property. Of course it does. They just finally, they were like before, I don't want to put the roof on, maybe I should just sell it. And well, whatever, I'll just pull the trigger, put the roof on, I got it done. Now, now I don't need to do anything, right? So of course that changes, but the roof was just one thing that can happen. What's the next thing that could happen to the house? We're coming up on heavy rental seasons in a lot of areas. You guys have had like rent moratoriums and rent relief issues that have gone away, still causing issues. Still, like there's all this stuff going on constantly with this stuff. So I just think about like, I just keep staying in front of people constantly.